Hey everyone, Mr. Nathan here, just with a quick instructional video for all of you beginner guitar players out there. One of the things that I encounter a lot when I'm teaching beginner guitar students is the hand position for chords. And if you're picking up a guitar for the first time, there's a lot to consider. With instruments like a piano, you can just put your finger down and you've got a note and it's going to probably be pretty close to in tune. With guitar, there's so much involved, and it can be a real challenge for those of you who are starting guitar for the first time. How to hold your guitar, the angle of how you're holding the body of the guitar, acoustic versus electric, how you're holding your hand, how you're fretting the notes on the frets, curling your fingers. There's so much. How to hold a pick. It can be really overwhelming when you're starting guitar. And really today, I just want to address one of the main things, one of the kind of main misunderstandings for those of you starting guitar for the first time that I think can help maybe get you past some of these early hurdles of trying to get some momentum playing guitar. And that really has to do with the position and angle of your fingers in relation to the frets. So we like straight lines, and we see lines, and we're drawn to lines, and things are in order when they're in line. And just like with a piano, when you see the piano keys coming straight at you, the assumption is that you put your fingers in line with the keys. You know, you're not playing piano across the keys. You're going to go with the lines. And I think for a lot of beginner guitar students, it's similar with the guitar. You see these lines and you think, okay, my fingers have to be in line with the frets. And to a certain degree, yes, but in a bigger way, no. I think that's where a lot of beginner guitar students get into trouble, is this idea that everything has to be in line. So really what you want is you want your fingers going diagonally across the frets. So I'm just going to put my hand in a few different chord positions. So if I'm playing an E, or E minor, that's one of the first chords you're going to start with. If you look at my fingers, they're not straight with the frets. They're actually going kind of across it back towards me. Take another chord that you're going to learn, a D. These fingers are going across the fret, not vertical with the fret. They're going across. Take a G. That's another chord you're going to run into. Playing with your pinky on the one string or your ring finger. Either way, the fingers are going diagonal across the fret. So there's a few things that are involved there, but the biggest thing to kind of know if you're doing it correctly and making life easier for yourself with an already challenging instrument is just think of how your hand naturally wants to go. If I just take my hand like this and I curl the fingers, how they naturally want to go, they're going to go with my arm back up my forearm if I just relax my fingers and bring them back. And it's the same thing when you're playing guitar. The most natural position is the right one. Your fingers are going to go towards where you want to fret. So I want my hand to be there. So I'm going to take my arm and put it here. And then I'm going to curl my fingers back. And that's very close to how I want to fret. Much more than this idea of taking your hand in these weird positions and kind of your wrist is now going this way and your fingers are trying to go with the fret. Just cut that all out and just go with what feels the most comfortable, which is going to be fingers going where they want to go, which is kind of back up the forearm, looking back at you. So in order to do that, what I would recommend are a few steps. So let's just take the E minor. That's two notes that you have to fret, middle and ring finger. That's kind of where I tend to start my students, is an E minor. You just got to get two, and then the rest of them are going to work for you, the open strings. So first thing I would recommend doing is taking your hand and putting the neck of the guitar in the palm of your hand. It's going to go diagonal across your hand, kind of in between your thumb and your pointer finger. Okay? So we want to eliminate all of this space under here. Okay? Because that's going to allow the most curl with your fingers so that you can fret and avoid hitting other strings, which is another major obstacle for beginner guitar students. You get your fretted notes great, and then you get this. You get that terrible sound that none of us want. And a lot of that is because your fingers are fretting, but they're coming down and hitting other strings. If you start with your hand flat up against the bottom of the neck, you're going to allow your fingers so much room to curl and avoid hitting those other strings. So first, put your hand right up against the bottom of the neck, where the neck's going across. And then think about where you need to fret. So for an E minor, I need 2nd fret A string, 2nd fret D string, and I'm going to use my middle and ring finger. So from that position where my palm's there, I'm just going to curl it around, and then I'm going to relax my thumb over the top. This is important too. You don't have to curl it around. You're not fretting anything. But so many times my students will have their thumb disappear and it'll be sideways. And all of a sudden you're losing all of this support from the top, which is actually going to help pull the palm towards the neck of the guitar and help those fingers that are fretting. So hand up against the bottom, know where you're going to fret, curl those fingers. They're naturally going with the arm now. They're not trying to do anything weird because my palm has been the first stability point. Curl the fingers, relax the thumb, and use that for support. It's not just there for decoration. It's actually going to help. And then you're going to play it and make sure you're getting clear notes. If you're getting this, try and feel where that vibration's happening. If you can feel it, I'm feeling that in my palm. That means I need to back off my palm a little bit, pushing my hand out a little bit to clear that string. And then take a mental picture, look down and see what that looks like. And then also a kind of a physical memory picture of what that feels like to fret. And then go back at it again. I'm going there, hand right up against it, curling my fingers. I know I need to back off my palm a little bit. And now I've got a clear chord. And then once you've got that, kind of capture that mentally and visually, and then repeat that until that gets to where it's consistent and that's comfortable. And then you're going to have that E minor checked off, and then you can move on to the next one. But avoid trying to go with the lines, but start with a palm that's flat, eliminate any space here, curl the fingers where you need to go, and then practice the correct chord, hearing all the clear notes. And if you don't hear the clear notes, figure out where that interference is happening, correct it, and then practice with that correction in mind. And then you'll be on to the next chord. So don't go with the lines. As the title of the video says, play out of line, okay? As far as the guitar is concerned, go with the natural feel of where your hand and fingers want to go, and the guitar is going to go with you. The guitar was designed with specific things in mind to make things easier for you, not to create crazy angles of your wrist or your fingers or your hand. So go with the design of the instrument. Also, practice, this is kind of thrown in there. I might do a whole other video on this, but practice playing with visibility from the top. So many of my students want to play like this. And it makes sense. I totally get it, because you want to be able to see where you're going. But doing this, I cut out so much of the angle of what I need for my fingers to fret. All of a sudden, now I've got no space to do that. So you're making life harder, even though it feels like you're making it easier. By seeing, you're making it harder to play. And you want to get the playing down. That's why they've got the reference notes, or the dots on the frets from 3, 5, 7, 9, and 12. They can give you reference, okay? But practice really fighting that urge to tilt the guitar, because that every little tiny adjustment you're tilting back, you're making it harder for you to play the chord you're actually trying to play. So you're actually your own worst enemy when you're doing that. So practice the visibility from the top, and then you're going to be able to see the angles that we want to see. So hopefully that was helpful. That's just something, that's kind of a snippet from what I encounter a lot with my lessons with students in the studio here. If there's other stuff that you're struggling with guitar or other instruments too that you see me play or demo on the channel, comment or send me a message or something so I can help you out. That's really why this channel exists, to help you get off the ground, get some momentum so you can start playing music that you love. So hopefully that was helpful. Subscribe to the channel, like, comment, whatever you want to do, and just get playing more guitar. All right, bye.